Maybe it's, hold on. Just a second, guys, last thing. I will take my gaming keyboard, put it away, and let's try Teams 1. It's really annoying. Tim, can you come over? Like, just tell me why is it? Why is it when you press it's zooming in? Like, I'm trying to zoom out. How do you zoom out? Okay. Okay. I've got this hate scale in my life. The top one is Macintosh. Like, it's nothing can be worse than that. Like, Macintosh is the top one, and now I know who's the second. It's a French Windows 10. I'm not racist, but it's really terrible. Okay, hold on. I just need to drink some water. Oh. Okay. Anyway, we will do it Soviet way. If it's not working, just show something else. But it keeps zooming in. Okay, so let's say. Let's say we have that panorama, right? Now we, oh. Oh man. It's the worst workshop that I ever had. And it's funny enough, it's actually the very first one I actually really wanted to show something, because usually you know me, I like come out and tell crappy stories about my horrible life and people like happy, oh, and like the next day they're like, oh, what was that? He didn't show anything, right? But, what was that? Try the one what? Okay. First we need to get to the toolbar. Oh. Okay, back to work. Sorry, guys. No stories. No stories. Today we're serious. Okay, so you know there are bad programs like ZBrush Modo and a good program, 3D Code. So I know I have only 20 minutes to go to sell this thing. So basically, why I like 3D Code, like I told this a million times, the only reason why I like 3D Code, like I was always trying to find out like a really convincing statement, but I just figure out I like 3D Code because I read what the tool does and I can do exactly the same. Not like in ZBrush, you read something, then you watch 40 minutes tutorial, then ask your friend, he asks his friend, and then you will be able to do it. Like, guys, saying that, I don't mean anything, like ZBrush is an amazing program, but just like I like 3D Code because it's simple. They got rid of all the icons, like all the fancy, like if you go to Modo, oh, the shadows are so cool, like all the menus are floating, and then it crashes, you know, like I hate it. So that's why I really like 3D Code. You can just start, not on this computer, but trust me, like if you have a normal computer, like a Soviet cracked version Windows 10, it works perfectly. Like there's no bugs, no updates, no crap like that. You just sit down and you start working. Okay, so basically the way I approach 3D Code, and all those models that you've seen in real time kind of video / renderings, they were done in the painterly style, so I don't model anything. Like I'm not the guy who pulls vertices, you know, like And by saying that, I'm like, sometimes people like accuse me of being not tolerant, like, oh, why would you say there's so many people like moving vertices? I know, but I'm coming from 2D, I can't move vertices. Like, it's not in my religion. I need to paint, even in 3D, I need to sit down and I need to start painting. That's why 3D Code is a perfect tool for me, because it does this thing, right? You basically start to paint, like, for example, oh, okay. How do you Control Z? Okay, we don't, like, real men never Control Z, so this is my hand. We will never Control Z. We will just do some really quick trick. We'll just resample this thing. Okay. Oh, yeah. So basically, 3D Code does this, right? Like, if I was a kid, I would love it just to draw flowers like this. Oh my God, so cool. But what's good about it? It's all 3D. Ooh. So you can make flowers, right? But that's just a really quick example, but how you can make it and use it on a concept level, for example, right? Basically, the way it works, you can use these marquee tools, and basically, like, honestly, for me, it's like the best Boolean operations that ever existed. The way they work, basically, you just draw whatever you want. Like, if I want a rectangular in some specific place, I just paint, I just draw it, right? Like, there's no creating primitives. You can do all that stuff, but this is not the way I really like to approach, because I want to use my painting skill. And combined with the brushwork, basically you can do any shapes you want. Like, for example, let's say I want to mimic like a working mechanism over here, right? Like, instead of dividing, subdividing, or all that voodoo magic that you do in 3D, there's nothing like that. You just paint it over here. Right? For example, let's just do this. I can see my face like on ZBrush forums, like, ha ha ha, this guy. Anyway, oh my God, it's terrible. Tim, and I'm working with you every day. I trusted you. I trusted my life. I will never drink that tea that you bring to me anymore. Oh man, it's horrible. I think this computer is just too French. It's just. Oh my God. And you know, like yesterday, because it was really difficult for me to bring my computer. It's really huge. Like, I just didn't have enough strength to bring it down, basically. I went to buy a new computer just solely for this lecture, and I couldn't find in the whole London a single laptop that will support VR. Guys, what is this? It's London. It's like, if we were like in Moscow or something like that, oh. Well, that's how civilized people do. They order like 10 days before the workshop. But the barbarians like me, they go and buy on the last day. So that's why I couldn't buy it. And basically, Tim, let's use your finger again. Yeah, please. I mean, you can leave it. You can leave it over here. So, well, there's nothing I can do. I will just then explain you the way it kind of works later on. First you prepare your 360 painting. It's solely painting. It's nothing, like no 3D. I definitely encourage, like, if you want to try this method, try to get used to painting in 360, like, because there's always stage for 3D, you know? 3D is like the next level. Then, for example, for stuff that's closer to camera, you need to see a lot of parallax. That's why you can't just use 2D, you know? That's why you need to make 3D. But I really prefer to really like paint like this, like almost like what I did with that flower. You set up your camera and you say like, oh, I want a rock there, and you just paint it over there. You don't care what's behind it because you will never go around it, right? The same with the corridor. Like, I wish we had a chance, I would show you how to use like modular technique when you do like one chunk, like a really small piece of it, and you just multiply it, and by changing one layer, like everything in your scene changes. And like the next level would be, which I unfortunately can't show you, but the next level would be like actually go deep into 3D and use like Octane and stuff like that, when you can actually like use a lot of instances and like populate your scene with trees. Like, it's crazy what you can do. It's really, really amazing. But instead of it, like in this stupid way, I have to just tell you how it works and stuff like that. Tim, thank you very much. I'm going away from here. Oh, by the way, I just have only one toy that will probably make some of you guys happy. I'm not talking about VR porn, unfortunately. I have some, exactly those paintings that I show you, I have them in VR, so if you want to see it, make sure you do it. Otherwise, I'm basically doomed because it was awful. So, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna ask if you have any questions, but it's so stupid. Basically, I want to spend a lot of time with this stuff in upcoming year, maybe or two or whatever, and it actually excites me more than, for example, like I mentioned you, like as an evolution of artists, usually you ask people like, I know people who don't have any ideas what they will be doing in future, but I am one of those guys. If I don't die from cancer, I really want to be somewhere, right? So I was thinking at some point, what shall I do, right? Like 2D, 3D, 4D, Facebook, StarCraft, like trying to judge what I shall do. And I was really wanted to get into directing at some point, because I know like 50% of concept people, they want to be directors, right? It's normal kind of evolution process. But then with VR coming, I think that's something I really want to get into, you know? It's something new and unexplored. It's still risky because nobody knows what's going to come out of it. But I still think it's very exciting, because it's amazing how you can like sit down in one day, do this world like, and enjoy it, just look around. Like, I don't know, I just play with these little soldiers. I just lay them down, like I have different poses, they walking around and I'm just in between them. It's so cool. Like, I don't feel lonely anymore when I'm surrounded by those guys. And if you're interested where those guys are from, there is this guy, he made an awesome course on Learn Square, Jama. He kind of teaches this stuff. No, guys, as I said, today is all about sharing. There is this amazing service that Adobe just bought from these guys. It's called Mixamo. Basically, the way it works, you can do your own character, like fully from scratch. It doesn't need to be perfect, retopologized, or all other these crazy words that you probably heard before. And then you just upload your character, and you can select like a wide variety of different animations. It's amazing what you could do. And basically then you can use them as in real-time renderings. And like, let's say you're doing like a comic book, right? Like, how can you use this technique? Very easily. You do one guy, and you have access to infinite amount of poses, and you don't need to understand how to render, how to put like photoreal, like shading and stuff, because it's already pre-made, like you saw on that real-time rendering. Everything you saw was already there. I just had to assemble those. And there is not even a button called render, because it's real time. You rotate and you look. And I love real-time rendering because I think that's what makes the process very creative. You know, you don't wait. You just like place your camera wherever you want and stuff like that. The next step I would love to share, but I can't show anything, unfortunately, is 360 photography. Like, how can you use like with Samsung, you can buy a 360 camera, which is 360 gear or something like that. It's amazing. Like, back 5 years ago, shooting 360 image was a nightmare, like a rocket science. You had to do like, but these days you just place your camera, press shoot, and it shoots like 2 spheres and combines them. It's amazing. How can you use it, right? Like, let's say you're a matte painter, right? And you need to replace something, right? Either you find it on Google Maps, or you go on location and shoot your own 360. And then you have a range of, like, 360 range of photography that you can use them as a matte painter, which is crazy. Same for people who draw or paint, you know. We all use references, right? Like I'm the first guy who's just tracing photos, right? They just find photo and just trace it, right? Post on Facebook. Don't forget Mixer Brush. If you put Mixer Brush, it gets like a bit more likes because it looks painterly. And instead of like using like photos from internet with 360 camera, you can actually go out. Like let's say you have this idea, and you need a lot of people like as a reference. You shoot 360 photo, and the same way that I showed you in Photoshop, you make it on a sphere, and then you can actually start painting on it, which is really impressive. Like, it's already there, perspective is there, you know? Like, I think what is lacking these days in 360 paintings is the sense of perspective, because people are trying just to force it. Like, everything is just squashed, but the ones that I showed you, they're perfect. Like, you'd look down, and you see, like, basically what's down there. And yeah, the combination of this guy, real-time rendering and 360 photography, will be a really big thing in the future, because it will save a lot of money for potential investors. That's why they will support it. Like, let's say you're doing a movie, right? Like, you are Guy Ritchie and you're doing a very nice movie called King Arthur, right? And before going on set and like spending a lot of money, you know, on scouting and stuff like that, all those like really money requiring processes, you have this one bold, poor artist, like I'm talking about myself in like 10 years, and you call him and ask him, hey, Jama, can you do this stuff for us? And before you do that, oh, nice, thank you. Oh, thank you, thank you. Is it for Ash, right?
What's that?
It's for Ash, right?
No, it's just for you. If you want it, 3D card.
Oh, really? Oh, thank you, sorry, man. I was too aggressive. Okay. So, but my time is up, man. I can do something. Oh, yeah, well, go for it. So basically, you can, before they do the shoot and all that stuff, you can already have everything in VR. And it looks almost real, right? Like, how many of you guys tried VR, right? Apart from resolution, which is just a matter of time, right? Like, give it another 5 years, it will be really photoreal. The sense of scale you're getting is amazing, right? And that's what sometimes we artists, we don't get right? Sometimes we do a painting, we can always cheat, right? We can always put this like foreground element when you start thinking about it, like it shouldn't be there because your camera is off, and then someone else takes it in a more technical way and starts to reproduce it. So that means first you lose time, and second you lose money, obviously. So with these old techniques, I think the next level would be when artists will be kind of answering like a lot of questions regarding like production as well, not just only pre-production when you just, like for example, let's say you're doing a character, right? Like a creature or something. And instead of showing a picture, you're showing out something, right? Like recently I'm working on a project when we printed out the creature and it just looks different. Like when you see this thing in real life, it just feels more solid. And then it also gives you a bit more chance to understand how the final product will look like. So I think like real-time rendering and plus VR will enable you to actually get there much faster, right? And there are already examples, like I know movies, I can't name you any of those, but I know movies where the parts of real final shots were done in real time. Just like real time. It's really, really impressive. Is it working? Oh, thank you. Was it supposed to be heading towards me? Okay, guys, let's do it. Ash, you can wait, don't worry. Ash can wait. Ash is a friend of mine. Whoa, nice. It's a future, man. It's a future. Oh, you even have Photoshop. Nice. It's a legal one, it's not the latest. Anyway. Is it legal? Okay, but I need my files, which I don't have. Okay. So let's just plug it in. Okay, guys, hopefully at least 10 minutes I will be able to show you something.
Give you as long as you want.
Are you sure? Okay. Ooh. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so let's try this 3D thing in Photoshop again. I'm pretty sure it's not going to work, but let's try it. Oh. Okay, this is not the latest Photoshop, but I think we still get around it. So basically, that's why I never used it before. Before you had to slide this, basically drag these sliders. But now, basically, in the newest one, you don't need to do it. But still, you can see the point, like the way you do it. Like, for example, let's just quickly start going speed painting mode, right? A lot of brush strokes, and we do something. And then we rotate a little bit. And then we do another character over here. And then we rotate a little bit more.
Yeah, but you have several layers when you're actually painting.
You can have whatever you want if you have a proper one. Also, like, thank you for your question. A good thing that you can use everything you would use in normal painting, like mixer brush, right? Like smudge tool. Everything is like still doable, right? Even like color modes. Like if you want to do like linear dodge or linear screen mode, you can still do. It's like regular painting, but in 360. There's no difference. The only difference, like, it's a little bit more blurry than your final painting, because Photoshop has this feature of previewing stuff. So as you see, like, it's a bit blurry, but if you once you finish your final painting, it will be just as you're painting. It's amazing. It's really cool. So basically the way you do it, like, I mean, here we're doing it Soviet way, but you just would do it normal way. You would paint it like he's standing on the ground, right? And you rotate like this. Also, there is a cool feature that you can change your focal length. Let's say we go to view, we double click, like let's make like very wide angle, so you can see more. Well, it's like 1%, but that's fine. So here you can actually start painting your guy. And so on, so on. So you paint like all around, and then you will be able to kind of oh man. I probably forgot that I spent almost $10,000 on my computer. Now I'm complaining, isn't it? Like, yeah, it's probably just me being very nitpicky. But in ideal world, we would just be able to freely kind of rotate around and paint a 360 painting. Anyway, let's go back to 3D code now. Yeah.
Have you tried, I guess, in your computer and your browser to be painting on Photoshop on the 360 painting and then have it already projected in the other software? So every time you save, if it updates,
Yeah, sure, it works.
and it works.
It works absolutely.
Oh.
So basically, you can work either on a sphere, like a normal painting, or you can work on that warped one, the one that I showed before, which is like distorted.
Right.
So it's up to you. They're kind of updating each other simultaneously. So if you have two monitors, you just open them and just paint here, paint there, whichever works for you. Because why it's good to paint on the sphere? Because, hold on, let me show you. It's good to paint on the sphere because you can use all the Photoshop tools, right? For example, shifts and stuff like that, and you're getting like a straight line. Yeah. But if you're painting on the distorted version, then you need to mimic those lines. When you look especially up, like all your lines are converging like in a really weird way.
Yeah. No, I don't mean to paint on the distortion one, but to paint on this one and see updated live on the projected one.
That's projected one? No?
Well, yes, but here you don't see the one that I guess have it already loaded on Marmoset.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
what you paint,
well,
you
the way
see
you
happening,
update it
you know?
with Marmoset, you just saved JPEG and then it updates.
There you
it,
go. So every time you save,
yeah,
you
it's
see
not
it.
like real linking, which is probably good because like, but with the proper controllers, like not this one, the old type one, but with the proper ones, you don't need it. You press V and you look around. It's amazing. Yeah. What would be really cool if they make a VR Photoshop? I'm dreaming about it, man. Like I can see your eyes, you're dreaming about something else in VR, but I'm dreaming about Photoshop, right? I really want 3D package of Photoshop in VR, yeah?
Yeah, I was just going to say, with painting in sphere canvas, thank you very much. When painting with the sphere canvas, how easy is it to find a horizon line for you? Because like when you were just painting there, I think you've already you know in your head where it is.
Again, you know, like there is this guy, he made this amazing Gumroad. Like his name is Jama or whatever. Sorry, like it's just my fault. I forgot to bring the grids that I made. Like I just basically made the 3D grid. So basically when you transform it into spherical painting, you see the ground level, so you know exactly where you are.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's really, really cool because you can straight away start like, because you see the grid, you know where all the lines, it's almost like you would have like construction lines for like auto draw, like if you want to paint vehicles or like buildings, you would first do a grid, right? But now you have it naturally.
Yeah.
And if you want that one, I can share with you. Just message me.
that'd be amazing.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. But let's go to, today the goal is to sell 3D code, to really get like inception moment into your mind. You know, you go back home and you start thinking, oh, maybe he's right. Like, yeah, he looks awkward, but maybe he's right. What do you think? Okay, so, okay. I was showing you how you can do this stuff by just painting this stuff, right? Hold on. Okay, that's much better. So, for example, if I want to do some, as I said, some mechanism, right? I don't really model it. I just go and paint it. So, for example, I want to do some kind of it looks pretty rough, right? Like, but I can always go and just delete stuff just to polish it a little bit. All right, it doesn't look like anything, right? But what I'm planning to do, like, as I told you, I always try to think in modules, right? I do one chunk, and then I just gonna use that one piece that will dictate everything in the scene. So for that, I will be using instancing, not this one. Mirror Z, right? I will do this, right? Let's just Control Z. Okay, let's do something like this. And middle click is not working, so we will be doing it Soviet way again. So, okay, and now we will be instancing this one again. So basically, we'll go to instance, make a new instance. And then maybe let's try to do one more. Like this, right? So it still looks quite rough, right? What we will do basically, just as we painted the rest of it, I will just go like this. Can someone call my mom, please? I need her desperately. It's one of those moments, you know, like when it's just not working. Hold on. So basically, like normally, if I'm doing a lot of instancing, I would hide most of my geometry. I would just leave one of those. And I would work on this piece over here. Oh. That's. Okay. And basically what's happening now, like if I just unhide all the volumes, you can see like I'm starting to have like a base for my level design or whatever it is. What the fuck is this? And wherever I need some change, I never go and start pulling vertices and stuff like that. Again, using the same principle, I just paint and draw, right? Like, okay, let's do something here, right? And you know, like, especially in speed painting, like, when you look at the picture, you get this impression that, wow, it's so detailed. Like, especially when you look at Craig Mullin's paintings, they are very nicely detailed, but when you zoom in, you kind of like, everything is just a brushwork, right? This is something I really miss in 3D. Like these days, most of 3D, like you zoom in and it's crisp. You zoom in, it's still crisp. Like you zoom 10,000 times and it's still crisp. I don't like it because I think, not as I don't like it, I love it, but I think like when on a real, like in a concept work, when you need to do something really quickly, you can't spend on a model like a lot of your time, unless you like Vitaly or somebody like that who's super fast. That's why I found this way of kind of suggestive details. Like for example, like this place over here, right? Like I'm just suggesting details, right? But when we zoom out like this, and like for example, if we activate light, And once we put it in the final shot, you will be not seeing most of these details. They will be just there to catch like highlights, right? To drop the shadow or get some highlights. That's why, like literally with this computer, I spent on this like probably 5 minutes. Like, but if you were about to like properly do all these things like properly, like it would take much more time. And by saying that, I don't really mean like you can't do it in 3D Coder. You can still like, if you have a good computer, you can go like and start detailing this piece, like starting like painting here and there, like actually giving it some. And it's for me like it's always also like about scale. Getting like really small details actually make it look like it's a very detailed model, but it's not. And it's like in 3D Coder, you can do it really easily. Like you basically cut these things out. Hold on. And now from a distance, it looks like a detailed thing, isn't it? Also, there is a very powerful thing called stencils, which is stencils. Okay, that's the one. But where is that? Okay, here it goes. So, for example, you can do this. And then you can use some of these tools. So it gave you like this kind of detail, right? And most of my models, like I use 3D Coder on like a big movies. When you first look at the model, you think like, oh, it's so detailed, it's so like, but literally when you zoom in, it's just all crap, you know? But because I'm using my painting skill as well, like I know I can fix it afterwards. That's why I don't care about bevels, I don't care about edges and stuff like that. I just go there and just do whatever I do the best is painting skills. So I would strongly advise you guys, if you are coming from 2D background and you're seriously thinking about diving into 2D, especially like when every 5 minutes on Facebook people tell you that you should, you definitely have to explore this kind of modeling. I call it like a dirty modeling. Like everything I do is basically dirty. So I would call it like, it's a very, very kind of rough modeling, but you saw the result. You saw on those videos, when you look at them, it's amazing. I love 3D artists, but they always complain that there is this cast of people called compositors who put all the smoke and fog and motion blur on top of their models. And then I was like, well, that's how it works, right? So that's why would I, as a concept guy, why would I spend a lot of time on my models if I'm going to put a lot of shadow, a lot of highlights, a lot of materials, motion blur on top of it? So that method works perfectly for me. So basically, it's kind of finalizes what I want. I wanted to show more like of actual process, but sorry for that. So having that painting like as a 360 thing around us would actually, and having like 3D base, this roughly modeled 3D base, plus those animated characters, you can start doing your own small movie, like, and it's amazing. Like, I'm really excited about it. Like, I really, like, I do really want to see 3D scanning becoming more popular and more affordable. Like, literally, I would love to just go into some kind of like photo booth and just scan myself, because I know I can do a lot of poses, right? And I don't need to sculpt those. Like, I would just go into this photo booth, scan my poses, and then just throw them into Photoshop or into 3D and do some amazing things, you know? Like, it's really exciting time. I'm really excited. except the French Windows 10. Everything was pretty good. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry about that. It's one of those technical things. Usually, like I always do something funny, and like last time I was in Moscow, I had to do a handstand, like literally, just to entertain people, like they were laughing and stuff like that. But I'm not doing it today. I'm just too old for this stuff. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Do we have any questions out here?
So with your character models that you created, how did you go about making them in 3D Coat? Did you use a base model for like, you know, the anatomy or anything, or did you? Or
Oh, you mean the character?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't do the character.
Okay,
the one
cool.
that I told you about, Mixamo,
Yeah.
there is like more than 40 different characters for you.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you like fairies, you can download fairies. If you like muscly dudes, you download muscly dudes. Whatever you fancy, you go there, you get them. So it's a very good service because they have a very good mock-ups for their animations. So they are
Yeah.
all real, you know, like, you know, usually when you go and animate yourself, it always looks like this, you know, like Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it doesn't look real.
Yeah, yeah.
But those animations are really, really good. And like, especially it was so, like, I was super happy. Like when I joined ILM, I showed guys the same program, and they picked it up. And one of the artists, he created this crowd of characters, and they all looked so amazing, you know, because
Yeah.
it's not like, you know, Dust Studio, right? All the characters like
yeah.
very stiff. Like you look at the fingers, like all them like that. Nothing like
Yeah.
that because they are real.
Yeah.
Like it's very kind of. It's always in 3D. It's very difficult to get that like strong. What shall I say? Like, you know, when you look at the painting, it always feels like, it's so cool, you know? And some people, unfortunately, mistake it for just applying a mixer brush or aqueous painterly filter. It's not about that. Painting is great because it's being, you as an artist, you filter everything unnecessary, and you just leave what you think is really good, like artistically. And unfortunately with 3D, it's still like, it's very stiff, you know, because you have to manipulate so many things, textures, models, anatomy, cameras, rendering. You just like freak out, you know? And that's why like doing it this way just gives you more time to be a bit more artistically driven rather
Exactly. Yeah.
than.
Thank you. Cheers.
Awesome.
We've got time for one more question. Is there another one?
No questions, man.
All right, can I get a round of applause for Jama then, please? Thank you very much.
VR porn is here, guys. Please come over, and then you will not be disappointed. Thank you very much.
is done, a sudden clearness and clarity hidden away in every locked toilet. I've been waiting for you in the joiner's arms. I know your name, I know your name. I've danced with you, we're all friends here. Silver slugs line up like bullets, roll up 20s, they disappear. You make my tongue loose, you make my tongue loose. I am hopeful and start to free. You make my tongue loose, you make my tongue loose. I am hopeful. I'm Friday night, I do little talking, a pan and a fight. The dance floor's mine. Trips to the room, a room's that I'm missing. Drunken I love yous on top of the world.
Alrighty, is everyone ready? Can I please get a warm round of applause for Ash Thorpe?
Thank you so much.
Okay, enjoy.
All right. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah? Yeah? Louder? Quieter? Everybody good? Yeah? Maybe we could turn the fan off? You guys are going to sweat. All right. Hey, everybody. Before I get started, I just wanted to say thanks to everybody for being here. Thanks to everybody for throwing this together. Thanks to Alex. Thanks to Levy. Thanks to Daniel. Let's give it a round of applause to those guys. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because it's really not easy to do these things, and it's a lot of work, so thank you guys for putting this up together. And yeah, can we cut that fan? Is it possible? Because it's super loud. Let me turn that off. Alex, got it? Okay. So yeah, what's up, guys? Hello, in multiple different colors. Woo, it's like Simpsons, all right. Here's a reel of what I do, in case you don't know who I am and what I do. I do many things, and I'm gonna go through about my career and how I got there. But this will kind of give you a slight glimpse into the stuff I've done, and a lot of it isn't really shown, but yeah, I'll let it go. Speak for itself. Can you turn the audio on? Can you turn it up? All right, there you go. Oh. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's really crazy to see that much work and time and effort put into, like, I don't know, it's like a minute and a half or something. So I'm going to start with my origin story. I'm going to walk through all kinds of different things. But my origin story, that's me as a kid. I had hair at once. I'm wearing a beanie because I'm going bald, so yeah. But yeah, hell yeah. So that's me with my bottle. So I was born in 1983, and I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about why I'm talking about this is because there was a lot of really interesting things happening at this time in the entertainment industry and just the content that was out there when I was growing up. The 80s were just fraught with so many great things. Personally, to me, I'm very nostalgic, and a lot of things that I'm going to talk about are going to come from my inspirations and muse. We had, Empire, which is, we all can agree, is the best Star Wars. If you disagree, shut your mouth. No. Empire Strikes Back is really, really great. None of this stuff, because nobody wants this. Jar Jar Binks, this is great. Wait for it. All right, cool. Blade Runner, like how many of you have seen Blade Runner or, had that film have an impact on you? I know a lot of people here. I mean, that's a film that I actually go to sleep to quite a bit. I put it on my iPad and I just watch it to go to sleep. It's a great study in poetic use of light and film. That's a big inspiration. E.T., The Labyrinth. I'm just pulling out a lot of different muses. I'm missing a couple. You got David Bowie's Dick. All right. The Goonies, which is incredible. The Never-Ending Story. Akira, of course, everybody knows. Big muse for me personally. Wicked City, Kawajiri, old school badass stuff. Willow. A lot of people haven't seen Willow recently. I'm like, who the hell are you if you haven't seen Willow? So make sure you've seen Willow and do your homework. Conan, of course. Willy Wonka. I mean, don't get me in the same room with you. I'll sing all the music and everything. And I hate musicals, but I'll sing all the Willy Wonka. Batman. You got Michael Keaton in Batman. It's great. And this handsome fellow right here. But, the use of lighting, just the style, all these things are going to kind of culminate into what I'm going to talk about later about my influences and how they influence my own creative and my work and stuff. So we'll talk a little bit about the odd years of my life. I had a lot of shitty jobs. I'm not going to talk about too much, but I just want everybody to know that, you see me doing all these things now. It wasn't always like that. I grew up really, really poor. I was raised by a single mom, food stamps, all that kind of stuff. Just really shitty experiences for the big part of my life. But I moved out when I was 14, and I worked at like Subway. I was a delivery truck driver. I helped people's cars. I mowed the lawns. I dug the holes. I worked with immigrants. I've done all kinds of stuff. You say I name it, everything except like prostitution and body, bad stuff like. But no, I've done a lot of horrible things and a lot of horrible jobs. I mean, and. But let's get over that. I didn't do this, but I just thought it was awesome. But let's move ahead. So 2010, okay, that's really when things started to really ship up. And in 2010, I call this the year of pure potential. I had this epiphany. I was working at a design studio. I'd put myself through college, and I was realizing that I was working at a design firm, but I wasn't really fulfilled. And there's a lot of people that come up to me, I talk to throughout these talks and stuff, and they say, hey, I'm on the fringe. I'm not really happy with my job. So this is kind of, hopefully if that's you, this is going to kind of resonate with you. My year of pure potential is when I was working at a studio. I wasn't really happy, and I really wanted to work in film because I grew up, as I said, watching The Labyrinth and all these different films, and those are a huge inspiration for me. I always wanted to work in films, and that was a big inspiration to me. And so I spent 3 months, I gave myself 3 months. Every time after I worked and I spent time with my family, I would go into my office, late hours, and I started to build a portfolio, basically. And I spent 3 months, and I looked at all the studios, and I looked at all the other people's art that I really admired, and I put together a portfolio that I hoped to get me a job. And I sent it out to like hundreds of places. You'll find a common thread with me. I'm very passionate. I don't take no for an answer. I'm always looking for the yes. And I got a job, and I got a job by this studio called Prologue. If you're not familiar with Prologue's work, they're one of the best at what they do, at least at the time they were, and they do an exceptional work. They did like the title sequences for Seven and all that kind of stuff. So I got a job there, and the problem was though is that Prologue, they hired me as a junior designer, and when I got the job offer, I was like, yes, but the problem was is I'm stuck in San Diego, and LA's over here, and we're quite far from this place, but just to give you an idea, it's about a 4 to 6 hour round trip commute a day, and I did that for a year, and I worked 14-hour days, and I killed myself for it, but this was my opportunity to get into the industry, and I realized that it's all up to me. I had to take the risk, and I put it in. So I put a year in, and it was incredible, crazy. I have some of the work from here. Here's some of the early stuff I was doing. This is random stuff that I grabbed. This is some old school stuff from Prometheus. Looking back at this stuff, it's quite funny because it's a little bit old, but it's cool to see it because the progression of like just my lens, my ability to build things, and some stuff from Prologue days. A lot of grid, a lot of UI kind of stuff, and I didn't, honestly, a quick short story about UI is I never even realized there was such a thing as UI, really. I didn't really focus on it. I didn't really care about that. And a lot of people ask me, like, how did you get into doing UI for film? It was completely obliterated. I didn't even focus on that. It was about reading the script, solving the director's the issues that he had with the story to help with telling his story. So here's some of these things, early concepts, and it was really cool to be working on a film with Ridley Scott because he's one of my idols. So here's some random frames from Rango. I'm just throwing these things in here because I did a lot of work at Prologue, but I don't show half of it because I don't really show much of my work to it, and a lot of it I can't show too. So here's some stuff from Sherlock Holmes, some title sequence concepts and stuff. And this is all during the year of Prologue, and yeah, it was fun. One thing that I think I don't ever talk about or even publicly mention, but I worked on this film called The Right. It was a film about Anthony Hopkins gets possessed by the devil, and I don't know, same old stuff. I've seen it a million times, but it was really cool. I got a chance to. That job came in there. I was like the only artist, really. Everybody else was designers. So they're like, "Hey, Ash, you want to draw like veins on Anthony Hopkins all day?" I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And then so I did this for months and months, and I just made Anthony Hopkins look like shit for months and months. But they took all my Photoshop files, and I worked with Flame artists, and I realized like, wow, there's these people that work in Flame, and I was like, whoa, you guys get paid how much? I'm doing it all wrong. So here we go. Here's some before and after. And this is really, really old. This is a lot of fun stuff. So, and then towards the end of the year at Prologue, everything kind of came together, and I was able to work on a project doing design properly, and everything kind of came together because I had made a promise to my wife that I was going to do only a year, because basically what happened is I took a complete year away from everybody. I didn't see my friends, didn't see my family. I just kind of went to work, basically. And we just recently got married too, so it was a big struggle. And but towards the end, I needed to have a couple pieces to say that, hey, I put a year in, and now I worked on these big films, and these projects are going to then get me more work by myself. So, and I got a chance to work on X-Men First Class, which turned out to be a pretty decent movie, and I was really excited about it, and it was really great to be a part of it. And I also think that, for me personally, the title sequence turned out really special. So if you haven't seen it, here it is. I'll show it to you guys. It was really cool because it was a very small team. It was towards the end of my year, and everything kind of came right to the point. And it was really cool to be able to design these frames and, you know, take something as complex as, you know, the director said we have this, you know, I want you to figure out a really simplified way of explaining how the DNA strand and how the X-Men origin and all that stuff. And so it was this really fun design practice of taking something very complex, telling a narrative through it, and then putting all the cast and crew. So it was, for me, it was a dream project and on a major film. So I used all this momentum to kind of push me off into the next stage of my career, which is when I went freelance. And we'll get into this in a little bit more, but going freelance, I left after a year, and so the next stage for me was either to go work at another studio or go back home. And I was missing my family, I was missing my friends, and I really wanted to go back to home and be a normal human being again instead of just a work slave. So yeah, I went freelance. And when I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between my passion projects and my paid projects. I really love my passion projects. I'm going to talk about those more because those are more about where I'm going, but I think it's really important to discuss those. So one of the big passion projects that I had kind of directed and did a lot of work on was this homage to a film called Ghost in the Shell. How many of you are familiar with the original stuff and all the everybody? Yeah, good. This makes me happy that there's lots of hands raised, because if you haven't, it's a great, really great property. It's a lot of fun. It's really interesting. But this project was all about, it started really simply. My friend Philippe reached out to me. He was like, hey, let's do something together. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. You're awesome. Let's have some fun. Let's make some art together. And it almost reminds me of being back in school and just drawing and passing paper around. So it's the same kind of idea. And then we're like, oh, wow, this is getting quite complicated. And so get into it. I'll show you a little bit of sample, and I'll talk about the story, though. Some of the process behind it. And so this kind of, I had my friend Philippe, and we were talking about it, and then I was like, well, this is really interesting, but it's starting to get very complex. And at the time, I was in the middle of watching this movie. It was about this photographer named Gregory Crewdson. If you're not familiar with his work, you should really check it out, because he's a phenomenal photographer. He does these amazing images. There he is right now. I love that guy. Here's some of his photos, but they come from an era of film that I really love. He's a big fan of David Lynch. If you've never seen David Lynch, I'm a big fan of his work. But the style of lighting, the narrative, the many different layers of things, and so he's a big inspiration for me. And so at the time I was watching his film, and his film was about, he would take so much time and effort to make one photo, and he would, this is a whole set. He would go and make like a movie production to make this huge negative of a film, and it's really stunning. If you get a chance to watch it, it's really inspiring. But for most people, it'll be like, well, it's just a photo, But for me, it's so much more than that, and it has so much layer and so much, and he just takes so much care in everything that he does. And so I was highly inspired by that. And so I was like, hey, I have my friend Tim. Tim Tatter is a world famous photographer. He's down in San Diego, and I said, hey Tim, I have this idea, I want to do this thing, this homage. Do you want to shoot photos for me? He's like, yeah, let's do it. That sounds great. And I was like, all right, cool. And so it took us a long time. I'll talk about our model here in just a second, but it took us a long time to lock the location. So what we needed to have was a place that was warm water, had allowed us to take photographs, was okay with nudity, and could shoot overnight. And oddly enough, like in America, I don't know how it is here, but like people freak out about nudity. They're like, oh, boobs, like I can't handle the boobs, So it was really tough. It took us months to find the location. We finally did, and here's a talent. I looked through so many people. I was like, she doesn't look right or whatever. And it was an interesting beginning step into directing. I really started to get a good sense of the casting and the location and my talent and my team and everybody I'm putting everybody together, and it was really interesting. But a funny story about her, she's awesome, and I tell a story when I talk about this project because it was also another good lesson into directing is she was saying, hey, yeah, I would like to do this. I'm like, okay, great. She comes, she shows up, she's awesome. And then she gets in the pool and she's like, oh, I'm not really good at swimming. I'm like, wait, hold on. You said you're going to be swimming, and we're going to be swimming for hours. You're going to have to swim. And she's like, oh, I'm not very good. I don't think I know how to swim. So I was sitting there going like, okay, there's two ways I can deal with this. I can go, what the fuck, or I can go, you know what? don't worry about it. I'm gonna teach you how to swim. We're gonna do it together. And she was fucking awesome. And so I chose the part of pulling the potential out of her. And that's what I'm gonna talk a little bit about more too. But it was a really interesting part in this journey because at that moment I had so many things. I spent so much money getting all the equipment ready. Everybody was there, and she was saying she couldn't swim, and I'm like, I need to get these photographs. But it was really great. So the other oddity was that out of every place that we could go and shoot, we found this like YMCA, which is like a local public pool, and it was crazy because we had her swimming in the pool naked, and then we had like the lady that worked there, she had all these like really cool portraits of like kids, so it was just like weird, it had Ghost in the Shell, cyberpunk, like futuristic, and then we had like this public pool, and then the nude girls. It was just the weirdest thing. So again, you never know what's going to happen. So also boobs, if you don't like boobs, turn away, whatever, if you have a problem with it. There's boobs in this, okay? Here's a shot for shot. This is a completely 3D CGI, and then this is the original shot. And for me personally, directing this piece was about really paying homage to the original, and I didn't want to put my lens on it. I wanted to take something that I love, which is that anime, and I wanted to take what I understand, which is directing and doing film, and I wanted to merge those together because I hadn't seen it done yet. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. So, Von Ling helped model all the background. If you guys saw his talk, he's awesome. Frederick Tedeschi, he did like the model on the body. He did an amazing job. Gavril worked on it. I mean, there's so many people. All in all, we had a lot of people, and I'll talk about the details of that. But here's some of the shots, some of the breakdowns between the two. It was really important to get the tone and the lighting and the feel of everything really well. Here's a shot Mache put together too with me, and everything was really great. Everything was like everybody worked on different files. It was like, hey, what do you think about doing that shot? And everybody was picking different pieces. And it would all come back through me, and I'd kind of like tweak this, and can you add that right there? We need a model for this, and here's the before and after. And I'm still quite proud of it. I think we did an amazing job considering it was completely a passion project. Like it was 100% us loving something and doing something out of the love of something and making the best that we could. Here's a little breakdown of the files, kind of how they work, the renders. So. So, hi, you guys are so nice. Good. Yeah, big thank you to everybody that worked on this. So it was, when I first started, I was just, hey, yeah, let's do this. It'll be fun. Like, we'll do it in a week or something. And then, oh, fuck, it was a lot of work. 12 months later, it was literally a part-time job. I was learning as I was going. I was directing, producing, art directing, green everything together. It was just chaos. I had all the different teams, any structure. There was no structure at all. It was just madness. 12 months, okay, so 12 months, passion project. I did the count. There was about almost 14,000 files total have been passed back and forth between us all, about 430 gigabytes. There was 5 different countries involved, different time zones. The project was never stopping. There was always somebody working on something throughout it, and a total of 40 collaborators. So it was really interesting to work with on this because for me, it was with the subject matter and also thinking about it's just ones and zeros. We're passing all this information back and forth. So it was just a lot of fun, and it was a really interesting case study for me, and just being able to do it. And it's I talk about Japan because whereas out in Japan, there's Aaron Beck actually. Yeah, Aaron here. Aaron anywhere? Yeah. Oh, there you are. Yeah, front row. Right. Yeah. We went out to Japan on a whim, right? And then randomly I did a talk out there, and this guy came up and said, I love your talk. I wanted to bring you back to Studio Khara where I work, right? And that's where they make Evangelion, right? Yeah. And awesome people, incredible people. And we're walking through and just everybody's working, and it's like very Japanese, and it's like really intense and amazing. And I'm just kind of, we're blown away. We're just smile from ear to ear. And then we pass by this window, and there's these guys having a meeting, and they're like, oh, you should meet that guy. He's like one of like the best animators in Japan. There's only a couple of them still. He's kind of like the 10 angry or old men from Disney. They have the same kind of thing in anime out in Japan. And so the guy next to me is the guy that like hand drew and storyboarded the title sequence that we recreated. And so I was like, how weird is this? I'm in Japan randomly. This guy is never out in public apparently, and he's doing a meeting right here. And so they're like, they interrupt his meeting, they introduced us to him, and he was just so cool. And we showed him the project, and he smiled. I swear, that's a smile. Now, he was cool, he was nice. He liked it, right? Yeah, okay, yeah. But yeah, he was great. And then the thing that's really interesting is we put that out there, we shared it with everybody, and we thought, you know, we're just gonna throw it out there in the world, let people see it, people like it, maybe they get inspired to make their own passion projects, whatever it might be. And everybody was like, where's the movie, you know, like, what is this? And so it's, you know, people were like, you guys failed, what is this, you know, like, you guys did all the work, but there's nothing there. So people were like, what the fuck? And so it was quite funny because people were like, you know, you did all this work to make that still image, like, why didn't you make the movie? And I was like, well, if I could go with a group of 40 people and not do any money and make something look that good as a movie, then like Hollywood is seriously fucked. So it's not possible. So yeah, not at least right now. Maybe Jama could have an answer for me. So, so that's passion. Another passion project is I was in a stage in my career where I was working on a lot of UI kind of stuff for films, and I was kind of getting a little bit pigeonholed in my work. I was again, and as I said, when I first started working on UI, everybody's like, you know, trying to explain to me like the complexities of it, and I didn't really care about that. I was more or less trying to focus on solving the problem, you know, solving the problem inside of a film. And usually for film UI, it's not about the direct, you know, relation to reality. It's about solving whatever problems in that film. So what was happening to me is I kept getting kind of like doing the same work basically, and I was getting a little stagnant, and I was like, these guys at OFF, this is if you're in the design industry or motion graphic industry, it's one of the biggest like talks. This one was in Barcelona. It was huge, and they asked me, "Hey, we want you to do the title sequence." It's a very, I don't know how to explain. It's a very high like honor to do this, and I was like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it." I had no clue what I was getting myself into, so I was like, you know, they've done really great projects, and so I was thinking, well, I think they're probably thinking I'm gonna do a bunch of UI porn and a bunch of like data shit, and I was like, fuck that, I'm not gonna do any of that. I'm gonna break all the rules. So what I did is I worked with my friend Anthony, we co-directed it, and we wrote it, and it was this interesting thing about a shared nightmare we had, and it was like a 8-minute film, and we totally fucked with them, and it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun making this. This is one of the characters from it. This is still from it. We shot it all in 5D. We were with our friends. We had the freaking drone. It was awesome. Again, I want to talk a little bit about, you know, taking an effort, going out and trying things. You know, we were big fans. Anthony and I are big fans. There's Anthony in the green. We're big fans of David Lynch, and we wanted to go and film where Twin Peaks is at because it's kind of an interesting place, and we wanted that landscape. So we were like, well, let's go up there and film this, but we really needed the help of a drone because we had this interesting shot because you enter the dream world, and so we wanted to kind of have this flying shot into it, and we were going to hang the 5D and follow this truck. We're like, well, how the fuck are we going to get that? Because that's major like grip and a crane and all that crap. We didn't have a budget for that. So we found this guy on Vimeo, Henning, who does awesome, like, I don't know what he does, like air travel, hover camera master. That's exactly what's on his business card. But no, he lives in Sweden, I believe, and again, super weird. It just so happened that we needed this guy to pull off this shot because we had no budget, and he was in Washington, 20 minutes away from the location we really wanted to shoot, and he was like, yeah, I'll do it for free. Let's do it. And I was like, yes. So that's Henning. Again, this is me and Anthony, and I think what I want to kind of explain with this image is like, you got to work with people you love. You got to work with people that push you, people inspire you, and Anthony's one of them. Here we are working with our DOP, Kevin Jolson. He was great, and there's Henning right there. The really interesting thing is we wanted to shoot up in Washington because we wanted that even shutter. We wanted to get as much footage as possible because we didn't know what we were going to get, and we figured, oh, it's going to be like, you know, cloudy like it is here, and like it's going to be even so we could edit things together. And the oddity again, it was sunny the whole fucking time. So and then the rain and the sun would come up. It was pretty crazy. And then there was a Jeep that I found off of Craigslist that some guy's grandpa gave him, and then it broke in the middle of the set. And the good thing I know how to work on cars, so I fixed the transmission on this. We were deep in the mountains. That was great. This is the hotel we shot at. It was a lot of fun, and for me, it was really crazy starting to see the photos and the things that we were capturing, because a lot of the times all this stuff is in my head, and it's really crazy to see it translated like that, because I had this idea of this shot, and it actually started to come to life. Again, if you look at Gregory Crutzen's work, you can kind of see it as well. I'm heavily influenced. So here's the guy. Yeah, he was walking around. He was going to the gas station with that. I was like, dude, this is no good. He was pretty funny. Yeah, he was drinking the Coke, and then we're just doing some grab ass. So yeah. It's fun. I like to have fun on set. It's a lot of fun. Let me talk a little bit about Lost Boy. This is a passion project again. So I do the Ghost in the Shell, the homage. It builds up a huge group of people that love it, and then went off and tried to do something weird. Made a weird short film. One of my best friends, and now Lost Boy kind of came about because I was tired of just doing things for other clients, and I really wanted to go back to being a kid again. Because for me, it's like, through the career, I started out drawing. Just as a kid, I would just draw and had my imagination. Then I would go I started to become a yes man in people's films. And I was like, there's only so many times I can go and appease a director. And I'm like, I feel good when I work on a film and I really do a good job, but I feel empty at the end of the day if I only do that. So I started drawing, and every day I started drawing. And I got hit up from this magazine to hey, we saw your Akira. I just started doing Akira poster stuff just for fun, and they're like, hey, we saw your this, and we want to showcase your art, and we're thinking about doing a superhero thing or something. I was like, all right, that sounds cool. And they're like, you want to pick a superhero? And I said, yeah, Punisher sounds cool, because I've always liked Punisher. And then my wife's like, nah, that's weak. Don't do that. Make your own shit. And I'm like, what? And so Lost Boy actually came up because my wife was giving me shit for not being original. And so I made it up, and that's the actual piece. And then Lost Boy, the name happened because I was drawing the sign. I was like, how many letters fit here? Yeah, okay. And then I started figuring it out. So it was all this happenstance, and it all started to come together, and everything started forming. So that's one of the original pieces. And this is when I'm starting to go back to being a kid again, drawing the innocent part of myself, where I'm not trying to appease a director, I'm not trying to appease anybody. I'm just doing it for myself, and I'm having fun doing it. I did a ton of these. I would do them one a night, even if it took me 30 minutes or an hour or whatever. And it was more or less me just capturing the energy or the ideas or designs of these creatures and characters. And I was sharing it with all my friends. We were having a lot of fun, and that's cool. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So, and it wouldn't stop. I kept drawing them. I was addicted to their actual finished shots from the film. So I'm getting all this stuff back. So you guys are actually the first people to see it outside of myself and maybe a couple other people. There's another one. And again, you remember I was talking about my influences and the lighting, the style of things? This is all very much tailored to that. I'm appeasing